you ever really thought about it? The idea of pressing pause on aging? For forever, it's been the stuff of myths and legends. But today, it's a real cutting-edge field of science. So let's dive in and see how scientists are actually trying to turn back our biological clocks. I mean, this is the big one, right? This is the question that's driving a whole universe of research. And it's not just about tacking more years onto the end of our life. It's about adding more life into our years. So how are we even beginning to understand this process that affects every single one of us? To answer that, you first gotta know about the science that's dedicated to this quest. And no, this isn't science fiction, not at all. It's a super serious academic field, and it has a pretty cool name. And that name is biogerontology. It's a mashup of biology, genetics, medicine, basically a team-up of some of the smartest people on the planet. And their shared mission is to figure out the nuts and bolts of aging, all the way down to the level of our cells. Now, this is a really, really important point. The goal here isn't about living forever. It's about extending what scientists call our health span. You know, the part of our lives where we feel good, we're active, we're vibrant, and we're not bogged down by chronic disease. That's the real prize. Okay, so if you're a biogerontologist, where do you even start with a challenge this huge? Well, one of the most critical places to look is our body's own security system, which, it turns out, goes through a massive change as we get older. I want you to think about your immune system as this elite, highly trained security team for your body. When we're young, that team is sharp, it's fast, it's effective. But as the decades roll by, the team gets, well, a little slower, a little less precise, and that leaves us a lot more exposed. And of course, there's a scientific term for this: immunosenescence. It's a huge piece of the puzzle. It's why older people are often more vulnerable to getting sick. In simple terms, our internal security system just gets worse at spotting the bad guys, and sometimes it even gets confused and messes with the good guys. And this isn't some abstract theory, you know. This has real-world consequences. It's the reason why older folks are more likely to get infections, and it's also why things like the flu shot might not work as well for them. So figuring out this immune slowdown, it's a massive deal. But it is not all doom and gloom. What if the secret to a longer, healthier life isn't just about fighting off this decay? What if it's about flipping a switch that's already inside some of us? What if the code is already written, right in our DNA? This is where it gets really interesting. Scientists are literally on a hunt for what they call longevity genes. The idea is that some people might have just hit the genetic lottery and they're naturally programmed to age better. If we can find those genes, maybe, just maybe, we can figure out how they work and learn to copy them. And the research is getting incredibly specific. Let me introduce you to a gene called SIRT1. You can think of it as the ultimate manager for your cells. When things get stressful, SIRT1 jumps in, organizes the DNA repair crew, and makes sure everything's running efficiently. It's so important that in some lab studies, just activating this one gene has been shown to extend lifespan. And SIRT1 is not a lone wolf. Scientists have found a whole crew of these longevity genes, like FOXO3, ApoE, and CETP. Having certain versions of these genes is linked to people who live exceptionally long, healthy lives, often by doing things like protecting their heart and brain. Now, here's the kicker. This isn't just a someday kind of thing. It's happening right now. Thanks to incredible tech like rapid genome sequencing, we're actually creating a roadmap to a future where anti-aging treatments could be tailored specifically for your DNA. But that kind of power leads to a pretty profound question. Because once you have the power to literally go in and edit our own biology, well, you step out of the science lab and into a much, much bigger conversation. Because with this kind of knowledge comes an incredible amount of responsibility. And that throws us right into the middle of the great ethical debate. As we get closer and closer to these breakthroughs, we have to start asking ourselves some really tough questions about the kind of world we want to build with this new power. I mean, seriously, think about it. What happens to everything? Jobs, retirement, family, if people are living to be 120 or even 150? And who gets access to these treatments, which will probably be super expensive at first? There's a very real danger that this could create a brand new divide in society, a biological one. And on top of all the social questions, there are massive scientific ones too. Aging is this incredibly complicated dance of a million different biological things happening at once. If you try to mess with it, you could have all sorts of unintended side effects. So scientists have to move forward with extreme caution. So where does all this leave us? Well, it leaves us staring at this powerful, almost overwhelming vision of the future. A future that is packed with both unbelievable promise and some pretty serious peril. It all boils down to this fundamental tension. On one side, you have the amazing promise of a future where we conquer age-related diseases and everyone gets to live a longer, healthier life. But on the other side, you have the peril of creating a deeply divided world and dealing with consequences we can't even predict yet. And you know, the scientific community is taking this really seriously. This quote right here shows you that the people leading this research, they get it. They understand that talking about the ethics is every bit as important as doing the science. So after all that, let's bring it all back home to you. It's one thing to talk about science and society in these big abstract terms, but the question that really matters is personal. If this science actually works, what would you do with that incredible gift of extra time?